Now, from the station you count on for local news that matters, this is KARK 4 News at 5 in high definition.
In the past hour, the Arkansas Supreme Court paving the way for one of tonight's executions. Ledell Lee's execution is set to happen in about 2 hours. For now, Stacey Johnson's execution is still on hold. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ashley Katz.
Yeah, Bob Clausen and Ashley, just like Tuesday night, we're coming to you live from the Cummins unit here. This is home, of course, to Arkansas's death chamber. That's where the similarities basically end, because unlike Tuesday night, there are two men in cells adjacent to the death chamber, as you mentioned, Stacey Johnson and Ledell Lee. So at this point forward, it looks, as you mentioned, too, that we are on track for an execution at 7 o'clock. But then again, throughout the last day and perhaps throughout the evening, we will see a flurry of perhaps last-minute filings that could hold things up. We've got team coverage for you tonight, trying to bring all of this together. We are live with insight from Marcy Manley in Little Rock. We are live here on Cummins Prison with the very latest on what we'll be developing throughout the evening. We are also live in Washington, D.C. Drew Petrimo keeping an eye on the United States Supreme Court and anything that should happen up there. But first, we want to bring in Marcy Manley. And Marcy, we talked about some last-minute maneuvering, some last-minute decisions. Where does that bring us right now and into the evening?
Bob, at this point, Ledell Lee is facing execution tonight, while Johnson's death has been delayed by the Arkansas Supreme Court. Late this afternoon, the Arkansas justices eliminated another legal hurdle the state had faced by lifting an injunction that barred ADC from using one of those execution drugs. The drug company claimed the Department of Correction duped a sales rep into selling the drug without disclosing it would be used for an execution. A judge granted the injunction, which would have blocked all Arkansas executions, but the Supreme Court lifted that. Death row inmate Stacey Johnson has been issued a stay of execution. Just moments ago, the Supreme Court actually said that it would not reconsider that and leave it in place until he has had a chance to have a hearing on DNA testing. At this point, Ledell Lee does not have anything blocking his execution. We've been updating those dockets to see if there are any changes, because Lee does currently have several cases pending in state and federal courts that remain unresolved, with 2 hours until that first scheduled execution. Based on our experiences from Monday, there's plenty of time for all of this to change. Now, KARK's Drew Petrimo is following developments in the nation's capital. Drew, what implications could the U.S. Supreme Court have for these death row inmates?
Well, you talked about there still being time for things to change, and that's certainly the case here in Washington. One of the issues on the table of the Supreme Court involves a petition from inmates. They are asking the justices to reconsider a stay that was first put in place by a federal judge in Arkansas. That stay was eventually lifted by the Court of Appeals, but the inmates are asking the Supreme Court to consider reinstituting that stay. We're also waiting to hear about a next move possibly from the drug supplier. You just talked about it. The drug supplier says its drugs that are going to be used in the lethal injection protocol were acquired improperly. Their case so far was lifted by the state Supreme Court. Question now, will they appeal that to the U.S. Supreme Court? That's something we will be waiting and watching for leading up to this scheduled execution. That's the latest here live in Washington, D.C. I'm Drew Petrimo. Bob, back to you.
All right, Drew, thanks a lot. Still things are, I guess you could say, early on as far as this goes. Stephanie Sharp joining me now. We've been talking about what may or may not happen involving the condemned men tonight. But up front, we've got to talk about why we're here, and that's the loss of life. Two women were put to death or were murdered brutally in fashion, which is why the guys are here. You got to talk about the families. They've been waiting for justice for over 20 years now.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, a lot of our attention is drawn to the suspects, but of course we want to talk about the victim and the victim's families and all of this. Ledell Lee killed 26-year-old Deborah Reese in her Jacksonville home in 1993, and prosecutors say Lee hit her 36 times with a tire thumper. Reese's son was only 6 years old at the time. He says his loss still affects him every day.
He is the embodiment of the evil that should never have to exist in this world.
Prosecutors say Lee committed violent crimes against 5 women. His victims' ages range from 17 to 70. And as for Stacey Johnson, he's convicted of violently killing Carol Heath in 1993 in DeQueen. He beat, strangled, and slit Heath's throat while 2 children hid in the home. After the long legal battle, the victim's family just wants a resolution.
This has been the hardest thing I've ever had to go through my whole entire life.
We all want an end.
His son that you saw right there has grown up without a mother. The family just wants Johnson to admit to his crimes.
Steph, the families are given the opportunity to come down here and witness executions. Do you know if they'll be in attendance tonight?
Yeah, we were told by the Department of Corrections that both families have planned to come here tonight, and they will be here tonight regardless of what executions go through.
It seems like this is a big piece of closure, but it seems after 20 years, a lot of them, some of them think that maybe this day never was going to come, but it appears, at least for one of them, it may happen.
It does appear that way. And of course, you know, these victim families, they've been waiting for this for a long time, and it's been a hard, you know, couple decades for them.
But we have seen from Tuesday, things can change. Stephanie Sharp, thanks very much. One thing, though, also a lot of taxpayers say is, how much is this costing us? How much does it cost to actually keep people on death row leading up to these executions that basically take decades to get to? Arkansas Department of Correction estimated it costs about $67 a day to house a death row inmate. Breaking that down, the cost for the 8 inmates whose executions are or were set for this month, the most pricey prisoner in that group is Bruce Ward, who was here Tuesday, who did not get executed. The state has spent more than $600,000 keeping him on death row since he was first placed here in 1990. Looking at the other inmates, the state has spent more than $500,000 to house Stacey Johnson, who is here this evening. The parole board recommended clemency for Jason McGee, his stay costing the state $450,000. As of today, their time behind bars comes in $4.2 million price tag, that of course to taxpayers. But you know, when it comes to the cost, Ashley, the victims' families will say the cost is time. They lost loved ones so many years ago, and they say that these inmates have been able to basically keep breathing while their loved ones had all the time stolen from them the last 20 years. So we wait and see. We know that things could change at any minute, and that's, of course, why we've got Marcy Manley so steadfast standing by to watch any late-breaking developments.
All right, and we also have a crew inside. Bob, have you heard from them about a last meal for the inmates, or at least for Ledell Lee at this point?
Haven't heard anything from them. They just got in there, they check in, and they've got to make sure they've got everything in place so they can keep us up to date on what's happening inside and then translate that to us. But we haven't heard anything about a last meal just yet.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Bob. And we do want to wrap this up for you. The 2 men originally scheduled to be executed tonight, you see them here, Ledell Lee and Stacey Johnson. Johnson murdered Carol Heath at her home in DeQueen in April of 1992. Lee was convicted in 1993 of murdering his neighbor, Donna Reese. That happened in Jacksonville. Ledell Lee's execution will still go on as planned tonight. You heard Marcy explain there is nothing standing in the way of his execution. However, Stacey Johnson's is on hold. And tonight after KARK 4 News at 6, we will continue our coverage online as Arkansas moves forward with Lee's execution. You can watch our live reports. We'll also have analysis for you on arkansasmatters.com, also on our Facebook page. That all starts at 6:30. A Central Arkansas bank robbed, and coming up we'll tell you where they found the alleged robber. Plus, an SUV slams into a church daycare, injuring a child. It comes after police say the driver led them on a high-speed chase. We'll tell you what led up to the crash.
I am a little afraid of spiders, I'll admit it. So moving in an 8-foot tarantula was a feat on its own. It did give me one nightmare.
And later, bugs invade the Clinton Library, but don't worry, it's all part of a new exhibit. We'll take a look inside this family fun-filled display.
Another very warm and rather humid day across Arkansas today. Here in Little Rock, we started at 63 up to 83 this afternoon, just after 2 o'clock. No rainfall in the rain gauge yet, but we do have quite a bit on the way. And speaking of what else is on the way, isolated swatting. Looks like the mosquitoes are going to be sticking around for a little while longer. Your forecast is straight ahead.
From the station that brings you local news that matters, this is KARK 4 News at 5 with Bob Clausen, Ashley Katz, and Chief Meteorologist Keith Monahan. Now from KARK4, your weather authority, Arkansas's certified most accurate forecast with Chief Meteorologist Keith Monahan.
Well, most of Arkansas well ahead of an approaching cold front that will be bringing some changes to the forecast. Now, there have been a few showers and thunderstorms across the northwest part of the state. That is what has held those temperatures down a little bit. It's only 63 at Fayetteville, 68 at Harrison. Meanwhile, in places that haven't seen any rain or any significant rain, mainly in the upper 70s to the mid 80s, right here in the capital city, we've got 82 degrees. Down at Magic Springs, 82 degrees as well. Dew points in the mid 80s, mid 60s, I should say, gives us a heat index of 83 degrees. Southwest winds at 14. And the barometer, 29.98, and it is currently falling with the storm system approaching from the north and west. Now, again, a couple of showers have been occurring over far northern Arkansas throughout the day today. It's pretty much what we talked about yesterday. The first of two cold fronts beginning to drop southward through southern parts of Kansas as well as into southern Missouri. It looks like showers and thunderstorms are going to be a pretty good bet across the northern part of the state as we head through the nighttime hours tonight. At the same time, we still do have high pressure over the southeast U.S., ushering in southeasterly winds, and that means we're going to continue to see moisture coming out of the western Gulf. That's going to be the fuel for the showers and thunderstorms as we head through the next 24 to 36 hours. Now, let's put our maps into motion and show you what's going to be going on. Number one, showers and thunderstorms will become more widespread later tonight through much of the day tomorrow, especially along and north of Interstate 40. I think south of 40, places like Monticello, down to Pine Bluff, the Camden area, El Dorado, cross it. Your rain chances tomorrow, about 30%. Central Arkansas, about 40%. Showers and thunderstorms will be likely across the northern tier of counties pretty much at any point during the day tomorrow. Then we're going to watch the main storm system coming out of the Rockies across the plains for a little bit later on tomorrow night. We are expecting a line of strong to severe thunderstorms to develop across eastern Oklahoma or far west Arkansas by about sunset tomorrow. By about 10 o'clock, those strong thunderstorms will be making their way into central Arkansas. They will be on a weakening trend, but still probably strong enough to give us a couple of severe thunderstorm possibilities as we head through the first part of tonight. Though, I should say tomorrow night. Those thunderstorms will quickly move east, and although we're going to be on the backside of a cold front during much of the day on Saturday, there's going to be plenty of wraparound moisture. I think we're going to see more clouds than sun. It's going to be windy, much colder, even the possibility of a couple of showers. We won't clear skies out until Saturday night when Canadian high pressure coming through the Rockies heads into Arkansas, but that's going to set the stage for a nice end to the weekend and start to the work week. As far as the severe weather threat for tomorrow, this will be late tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night. Slight risk for much of central into southeastern Arkansas. The orange area indicates where there's an enhanced risk across much of western Arkansas. And I think at this point, the biggest threat is going to be large hail and damaging winds, although you could never rule out an isolated tornado. Everything, though, should be wrapping up just after midnight Saturday morning. In Little Rock tonight, 1 in 3 shot at a shower toward dawn, lows in the mid-60s. For your day on Friday, it'll be mostly cloudy, 40% chance of thunderstorms with a high of 76. Your weather impact number, well, we're going to bump that up to a 7, but that's going to be for Friday evening and Friday night for the potential for heavy rainfall, as well as the possibility of large hail and damaging winds with some of the stronger thunderstorms. A 2 on Saturday, because although we're going to see the bulk of the precipitation gone, it's not going to be the best day to head outside and take pictures. 30% chance of showers Saturday, windy and cooler, 64 degrees, around 70 Sunday, and back into the 70s and 80s next week. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're watching KARK4, Arkansas's most awarded news station.
Law enforcement arrest a man who they say robbed a bank in South Pulaski County. According to the sheriff's office, the heist happened in the landmark community at Simmons Bank on Arch Street Pike. Deputies say the suspect came in wearing a motorcycle helmet. He showed a firearm and demanded money. The suspect was captured a short time later, not far from the bank. A 21-year-old is in jail after police say she crashed a stolen SUV into a church daycare, injuring a 4-year-old. It happened at the corner of Springer and Roosevelt in Little Rock. KRK's Charmaine Nero speaks with some people who saw this happen and also police about what exactly happened.
Exactly, Ashley. Now, witnesses tell me they heard a huge bang and almost immediately after, loud screams. They say they were shocked when they realized a child was pinned underneath a truck after it sped into the back of a nearby church. A pile of debris and a board placed at the edge of the House of Bethesda Christian Faith Church.
Walked over there to the church and saw what looked like the back of the warehouse had been blown up in some kind of explosion or something like that.
An SUV crashed into a church daycare on the corner of Springer and Roosevelt in Little Rock.
Almost shook the ground. It was so loud.
Little Rock police say 21-year-old Shantae Burton was behind the wheel of a Chevy Tahoe. That was reported stolen around 7:30 Wednesday morning. A short time later, officers found the Tahoe driving down Roosevelt Avenue near MLK. Before the driver pulled over, dropped off a passenger, and sped off.
And goes back east on Roosevelt at a high rate of speed. The officer engages in a pursuit at that point and activates all her emergency equipment.
Officer Steve Moore says they stopped chasing Burton after they lost sight of the SUV.
A call comes into dispatch of an accident involving a vehicle running into a daycare or a church.
Police say a 4-year-old from the daycare was pinned under the truck. At least 6 other children were inside.
You know, and I saw one of the boys run out that had a scrape on his head with just blood all over his face, and just, you know, hoping that there were no fatalities.
Now, we're told the 4-year-old did have bone fractures, but is expected to be okay. Burton faces charges of fleeing, careless driving, theft by receiving, and failure to stop after an accident with injury. Ashley, back to you.
All right, Charmaine, thanks very much. Bugs, oh my, we're going to take you inside a new exhibit at the Clinton Library. It's fun for all ages. We'll tell you all about these creepy crawlers next.
This is KARK 4 News at 5 in high definition.
Grasshoppers, spiders, and ladybugs have all found their ways inside the walls of the Clinton Library. KARK4's Aaron Nolan got a sneak peek behind this newest exhibit in this Only in Arkansas report.
Hey guys, you know, this is one of my favorite spots in downtown Little Rock. Such a beautiful view here from the steps of the Clinton Presidential Center. Ever so often, they have traveling exhibits that come here to the library. A few months ago, it was the Beatles. All about the British invasion. For this summer, it's an invasion of another sort. Say hello to some giant bugs.
Extreme bugs are going to be marching, crawling, flying into the Clinton Center.
Extreme Bugs spans across 2 different galleries with 20 animatronic bugs. They move and make noise.
Set in their naturalistic settings, you're going to feel like you're walking in a forest floor.
These pests are big enough for a president.
He's so interested in bugs.
President Bill Clinton will be in town Friday to help open the exhibit, and that doesn't happen for every exhibit. So why does the former commander-in-chief take such an interest in insects? Well, thanks to the research of Pulitzer Prize biologist E.O. Wilson, Clinton now has a fascination for the humanistic way bugs come together.
The greatest cooperators are ants, termites, bees, humans, chimpanzees, and it's because they're cooperators and they work together. So that's why President Clinton's most interested in this topic. He talks about ants and bees all the time.
An exhibit that's larger than life while making you feel smaller than normal. Lessons and learning with Extreme Bugs. It's going to be at the Clinton Center until July. In Little Rock, I'm Aaron Nolan.
Oh boy, it opens this weekend. You can check it out with an admission into the library. If you want to learn more, go to our website, arkansasmatters.com. Well, we've got some rain moving toward the natural state. Chief Keith will tell us what we can expect as we head into the end of the work week next.
This is KARK 4 News at 5 in high definition.
Well, before we go, we want to check in with Keith. We've got some rain moving into the state.
Yeah, we're going to see some showers late tonight and a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms tomorrow. Friday night, thunderstorms are likely. Some of those strong to severe, large hail damaging winds will be possible. Lingering wraparound showers on Saturday, but breezy, we'll call it windy and much cooler. We dry it out and clear it out for Sunday with highs around 70, warming back up to the 80s as we head into next week before our next chance of rain Wednesday and Thursday.
All right, Keith, thanks very much. And we now want to update you on the execution that is scheduled to happen at 7 o'clock tonight. That is Ledell Lee, the inmate who is at the Cummins unit right now. We have a crew inside that building you're looking at there. They're in a media room set up, and we should get an update from the Arkansas Department of Correction at 5:30. We will have those for you on our social media sites, and also coming up tonight at 6 o'clock. And then after our 6 o'clock newscast, we hope you'll join us online. We'll be live streaming our coverage leading up to 7 o'clock tonight. You can join us on ArkansasMatters.com or our Facebook page. We'll see you tonight at 6.